So you combine the lowest inventory, and then it went to highest mortgage rate hike, then the highest home sale crash, then the biggest percent influx of interest rates. What could possibly throw you off your game in 2023? All right. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, AZ Araujo, and I want to thank you for joining me today. We had a little bit of technical issues, but I think we got all that squared away, and I'm looking to have a very good session with you all today. And, I named this, the housing bubble is simply your business bubble. And what I mean by that is that if we don't stop struggling with the current conditions, if we don't stop wishing things were different, your business is going to bubble, right? And I'm going to give you the definitions of what a housing bubble is and what your business bubble could be. And I'm also going to state some facts about what's happening right now, because part of your business changing and part of your business growing and flourishing is your change of attitude towards the struggles, right? It's your attitude towards the obstacles and the problems that you have to face, okay? And maybe we're too caught up on how things used to be that we're continuing with this attitude, this entitlement attitude that it should be easier, when in fact, the business is going to continue to move with or without you, with your participation or without your participation. And this is simply a reminder for you today that it begins with your attitude. It begins with your thinking that it should be easier. And again, last month, we sold approximately 5,500 homes, okay? That was Maricopa County and Pinal counties, single-family residential properties here in Arizona. And that right now has a lot of people still thinking that it's not enough. And listen, I know there's not investors still buying. I know there's not corporations still buying, but the end user is buying. And in fact, they're telling you there's going to be 5,500 home sales in August. And yet many individuals are going with the excuses that they hear on the news, that they hear from the YouTuber, that they hear from the TikToker. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm seeing more market share change hands than I've ever seen in my entire career. But not only that, I'm going to give you some facts. Okay, some facts here that if you got through 2022, you got to stop struggling with 2023, because if you continue to struggle, you're going to have a business bubble, because the housing bubble is not going to happen, especially with the results, what they show. There was only 6 foreclosures for the month of July. You know how much there was in 2020? 36. Okay, so if you keep on putting this outside of yourself, that is the housing bubble, as opposed to looking at what am I doing within my own business, because if I don't do the right things, there is going to be a business bubble, then you're going to remain struggling in that conversation. So if you got through 2022, I want to remind you that there's nothing that should stop you here in 2023 and leading up to 2024. And I've already expressed this enough times to say that this is just a setup for 2024. And what's good about this is that this is where the interest rates are going to stay for quite some time. Okay, this is the peak of where interest rates are going. So if you refuse to pivot and learn how to sell within these parameters, then expect the next 12 months to be very dire for you. Okay, expect your business bubble to burst, because you will be seeing yourself out of it. If you don't take the necessary steps today to embrace the market today and be able to hold conversations with the current statistics today, then expect to see yourself out of this entire market altogether, because this is the way it's going to remain for the next 12 months. Mark my words. Okay, we're not going to see more interest rates hikes. We're not going to see an influx of inventory, shadow inventory. We're not going to see an influx of foreclosures. We're going to see the market stay pretty bland. And if you can't work with bland, then you were just a fly-by-night agent, where you want everything exciting, where you want everything to fall on your lap, where you want people to, just call you out of the blue with little to no effort. So what happened in 2022? In 2022, you got to remember this. In March, we had the lowest inventory in recorded history. This was just in March. The same year, we also had the biggest mortgage rate hike in recorded history. In 2022, we also had the biggest home sale crash in recorded history. And we also had the biggest influx of new listings in recorded history. So you combine the lowest inventory, and then it went to highest mortgage rate hike, then the highest home sale crash, then the biggest percent influx of interest rates. What could possibly throw you off your game in 2023? If you were able to survive, if you were able to get through the toughest moments where there was literally maybe 4 cycles within 2022 alone, what is possibly stopping you from completely dominating the game in 2023? And I think it's how we interpret certain things. I think it's our attitude and the focus, right? Because at the end of the day, there's still a strong demand. In fact, we have a shortage of inventory. So guess what you want to do? If there's a shortage of inventory, you need to fill the void. Maybe having more conversations with your homeowners and painting a better perspective of how they can move up into their dream home. We need your help. The entire market needs your help in going out there and having intelligent conversations. But if we continue to think that there's going to be a housing bubble, I think you're gravely mistaken. The only thing that's going to burst is your business bubble. Simply because you don't want to adapt, you don't want to have more engaging conversations, you don't want to learn more about the market, you don't want to do more research, you don't even want to reach out to your clients. This is what we have to think about, okay? Because if we can continue to look outside of us and can't simply have a good response to people that are going to say that the housing market's going to crash, then you're not educating yourself enough. Your fingers are not on the pulse. You're allowing them to spew lies, and by you saying nothing, it confirms those lies which they're telling to their family, to their friends, to their coworkers. There's a strong demand right now. And for your buyers, they have an opportunity to get into the exact home that they've always dreamed of without settling for whatever's left over. We're not going to get a decrease of interest rates. So quit hanging on to that fallacy. You need to be able just to talk in the terms of long-term investment here. Okay? How is it that a normal consumer thinks that they're a stock market broker, right? They're thinking about, is it the right investment? How much is it going to go up? How much? You're buying a house to live in it. So you got to be able to speak to them on the facts of what's going on right now. There's still 5,500 homes that will sell in August. And now what you have to decide is what kind of participation are you going to have in there? Because I'm seeing our top producers grab more market share. Again, more market share has shifted in these last few months than I've ever seen in my entire career. I would have to take it all the way back to 2008, where a select few of agents, as the demand was going down, only a select few agents were able to gobble up that market share. And I was one of them because I decided to play within the parameters that were set. I refuse to buy in the fact or to live in the past of how things used to be. Listen, I had to adjust, and that meant adjusting my work ethic. And this is what you need to do to understand that if you want to survive in this market, if you want to participate in this market, your work ethic has to change. What used to be no longer is. So, getting back to understanding that this is maybe doing some of the grind work. Maybe it is repositioning your marketing ads and how you engage with your clients. Maybe everything has to be destroyed in order to rebuild. Because for the next 12 months, you're going to have to rely on this type of structure moving forward. Because it's not going to go back to how it was. I'm telling you that right now. So figure out what needs to occur now and embrace that and let go of the past. It shouldn't be easy. We shouldn't have, record number of agents getting into the industry and automatically making six figures. It's just not supposed to happen. It did for a little while. So now you have to understand that it's not the housing bubble, it's your business bubble. Were you a fly-by-night agent? I don't think you were. If you're here within this organization, I don't think you were. But now you have to decide, are you willing to pivot and do what's required to participate in today's market? Are you willing to participate in today's market? So let me explain to you what a housing bubble is. A housing bubble occurs when prices rise beyond what is considered reasonable or sustainable. I'm gonna tell you, we were heading that way. We really were, and I appreciate the changes that were made, because as opposed to having a housing crash, we're hoping it's gonna have a soft landing, okay? A little volatile, right? Everyone has to buckle their seatbelts. It's gonna get a little shaky, but we're going for a landing here, okay? There was no way we were gonna sustain 3% increased in values every month. And there was a whole year where that happened, over 40% in increased values in Maricopa County alone. Things were going to change. But yet many people were over-celebrating that things were always going to be this way, that it was always going to be this easy. And now it's just a reality check. Okay? Those were the good times. Kind of like your 20s, right? Those were the good old days. Very few responsibilities, very few effort, and life was just grand. Now is the reality of being an adult and a business owner. So increased demand, lack of supply, and low mortgage rates and widespread investor speculation is how a bubble occurs. When it bursts, of course, it's going to have severe consequences for homeowners, investors, and the overall economy. So we don't want this market to necessarily burst. So that's why they did the highest interest rate hike ever known to our recorded history. In a year, it went from like 3% all the way to like 6.5%. It was huge. Absolutely huge. But we had to do that. Otherwise, having the housing bubble burst would have had its dire consequences. So now, if it's not the housing bubble and your business is struggling, then you're still caught up on the fact that your business should still grow and excel and expand with little to no additional work. Because that's what actually occurred. You saw all these gurus on these social media platforms trying to teach other agents, trying to teach other investors, other wholesalers, Bitcoin geniuses, about how easy it is and how they're so genius in their efforts. No, they were just riding the wave. They were riding the wave. So your business bubble will burst if you're not in alignment with what it's going to take and the actual work it's going to require from you when it comes to your marketing, your sales, your systems, and your overall ability to have appropriate conversations with your clients. You have to be able to now to pivot out of this bubble. Some of you are already at the edge of this. It's going to burst at any moment. You're going to see yourself out of this. Your confidence is going to go along with it. You're on the edge. But that's all self-inflicted. It's not the economy. How could it be? How could it be that whatever you may be struggling with, there's a completely different flip side to that, where some are realizing their biggest gains ever in their lives? And I'll tell you why. Because the effort they put towards setting up those systems and processes, the effort they put into actually creating real relationships with the people they were dealing with, is now flourishing exponentially in today's slower market. So many people are caught up, so many agents are caught up on how things used to be, which should make it easier for you to excel exponentially. They're allowing their business to bubble and it's going to burst. But we know the facts. You know the facts. It's going to take some grind work. It's going to take some real hard work, real effort, marketing consistency, daily, day and night. It's going to require you to do things you didn't necessarily have to do. So the only reason you may be struggling is because you're struggling with the work. It's not your ability. It's not your relationships necessarily. It's your effort towards them. So what's it going to take for you now to pivot? It's going to changing your attitude, right? It's going to require an intense look at where you're at and what you're holding on to. It's all your attitude. And then adapting to what the market is. You got to make a mental switch, right, Jermaine? A mental switch. Because all you're doing is suffering, holding on to how things used to be. You have to decide, are you going to be a player and participate in today's game? The rules have changed. It's a lot more difficult. The competition is stiffer. You may be able to compete back then, but now you need more skill sets to work on that. You need a mindset. You need to get up earlier. You can't just roll out of bed and think you're going to dominate the game. There's more people now that are doing the right things before you even get up. Well, at least some of you, if not most of you. You're not going to be able to compete with what it requires. You need to be on your game, listening and putting deposits towards yourself, meaning physically, mentally, and emotionally, listening to the right things. Are you willing to do those things? Because it's not very difficult. You have the greatest platforms available to business owners ever created. The social media platforms put you right in front of your client. Talk about like specific type of marketing. It's dialed in. It's not difficult. Yet, when we compare of how it used to be, that's where some are finding the difficulties. So, adjusting your mindset and your approach accordingly. Okay? Focus now on making sure that your clients know that there's still a very good market out there and that there's properties out there that align with what they've wanted for their family. You can help them get there. So having real conversation, okay? And there's still a strong demand for homes. So talking to your homeowners, don't automatically assume just because they got a low interest rate that they don't desire something greater. Because when you find the right home for your clients, it doesn't matter what the interest rate is. It doesn't matter what the news says or the YouTube guru says. So I need you to stop listening to those individuals because they're really killing your business, okay? And maybe that's part of their plan, okay? Maybe that's part of their plan. And I'll tell you what, a lot of our players are like, hey, continue to spew the negativity because the more people are stuck in their own minds and what it's going to take to actually survive and thrive in this market, I'm just gobbling up market share. I'm having my greatest months, my most profitable months. And I'm going to tell you something. It can be more profitable today because guess what? Most of the co-brokes for buyers agents has gone up. Okay. You remember a time where there was only flat fees or low 2% fees. Now it's averaging around 2.75. So what are you complaining about? Your efforts just have to be in alignment with where you want to go, not where it used to be. So the market is expected, okay, to remain the same. So my suggestion is you learn what the parameters and the rules of the new game is. What kind of conversations you need to have. What gets your clients excited to actually make a decision on buying or selling. Learn that. And it's real easy. You just got to talk to a few people. You got to get a few sales under your belt and you'll be able to see the characteristics of what kind of buyer or seller is making decisions in today's market. That's all you need to do. You need to find your own trends. But if you're listening to everybody else's trends and making it your own, then you're just going to sit there. But it's a great market because you know the facts. So listen, we face more challenges in 2022 than we did at any point. Okay? So that's behind us. The market is stable. We're in need of more inventory. So talk to more homeowners. be able to paint the picture of possibility for something greater. And the market and the demand is still high despite the high interest rates. But this is where it's going to remain here for at least 12 months. Okay? So the only thing that really needs to change is your mindset. That's it. The only thing that needs to change is your attitude towards the work that you have to do and the skill sets you need to build. Start building now. Your communication has to be on point. You have to be more consistent than ever before. It's 100 hooks in the water, like Gary Vee says, right? 100 hooks in the water. Has to be all day, every day. We just got to get tactical about our approach and know your competition. They will quit. They will falter. They will break. All you have to do is outlast them. And you'll see the greater benefit. So forget about the housing bubble and start worrying about your own business bubble. Okay? Maybe you're overvaluating your skill sets and it's not sustainable in today's market. So let's start working on that. Okay? Maybe you're over-evaluating your marketing, where you think it's good enough to be able to endure today's competition. Maybe you just need to reevaluate that. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to be in that housing bubble. So just be able to look at your efforts, to look at your consistency. Start there, and I promise you'll find the opportunities. And until then, I don't want you complaining about the market anymore, because this is what you have to get used to. The players will always pivot. The players will always expand under any condition. You have to decide where you're going to be. I'm going to go ahead and go over some of these messages, but I hope you got what you needed. It's not the housing bubble. It's your own business bubble. So what do we got? You're hitting it right on the head, AZ. It definitely takes the right effort to see the results. And listen, again, I can't tell you how many agents I've seen. We do a lot of research, Isaiah and myself, of where different agents are and where they were, okay? And I've seen agents have their most dominant years a couple years ago, and they're barely making it by today. And that's unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate because they got caught up over-evaluating or evaluating their skill sets, their marketing, when it was just a result of the demand. They just forgot to pivot. It doesn't mean that they're not capable of. They just got caught up and now have a business bubble where they thought their skill sets were good enough to continue that momentum, where they thought their marketing was good enough to continue to give them the results. And when you keep believing certain things, that's where the bubble ends up bursting. What else do we got? Mindset, of course. Great advice. All right, Joanna, we have to adjust to every market to make it in this business. I like this market more than 60 offers on a single home. Whoa. All right. There's still a strong demand, which is something we have to express to our homeowners. Okay. There's still offers out there if we price it right. What's beautiful about this is it's kind of a balanced market. It really is. If you see a home that sits out there for more than 2 weeks, there may be room for seller concessions. There may be room for negotiation. You got to be able to embrace this type of market. It's really, really good. What else do we have? Is that it? All right, guys, I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Mindset Mastery. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye now. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast, brought to you by AZ & Associates and Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting us directly at badassagents.com. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider.